It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles.
Welcome into the South Point Studio, a new project here at the South Point. I'm Jeff Parles. Vinny Magliulo alongside. We're happy to bring you Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio, authentic sports talk. And Vinny, of course, with your background, Gone Gaming Sportsbook Director, odds maker right behind us. It's the beginning of the NFL season. It doesn't get much better than this.
It's what everybody's wanted, right, Jeff? Good to be with you. And, of course, here at South Point, always exciting when, it's always busy. It's always exciting here. But when football gets going, when another season, especially the NFL, and we've had college for a couple of weeks and has not disappointed one bit. But you know what? The fact that the NFL is now starting with this game between the Detroit Lions, who really are now on everybody's radar. Think about it. The Detroit Lions, yes, they are playing are in prime time, and they're starting the season against the defending Super Bowl champions. So we're very excited to have this game and get the season off and running.
As we'll see a little bit later, just the Super Bowl futures at the book behind us. The New York Jets and the Detroit Lions are both in the 8 shortest shots right now.
Yeah.
It's weird times.
No, it is. Well, listen, you know what? Well, I'm sure it has a lot to do with climate change, right? But the climate in the league is changing because teams are, we saw what the excitement with the Detroit Lions a year ago, particularly in the second half of the season. And, of course, what we know what the Jets did during the offseason, the biggest signing of the offseason, the trade for Aaron Rodgers, makes them relevant. We knew they had a great defense last year. Their offense couldn't stay on the field. They couldn't score any points. That figures to change this year. So there's a lot of excitement with those two teams. And listen, you can see it reflected, as you mentioned, in the prices for the futures. And we'll get that graphic up in a bit just to show how much interest is in those two teams and some of the other teams.
Well, and don't worry, you guys took a big bet on the Buffalo Bills not too long ago, as we're about 2 hours from kickoff in Kansas City. Don't worry, Jimmy Vaccaro, Chris Andrews are going to be in.
Yep.
Jimmy and his Twitter staff. Will the whole Twitter staff be in or no?
Well, you're looking at part of this Twitter staff right now.
You're
but,
1/8 of it. Yes.
He'll be in with Chris, who's also on. I tell you, I don't know. Jimmy's. I don't know how anybody else has a Twitter staff, but Jimmy does.
It's incredible. But let's get into tonight's game.
Yeah.
The Chiefs hosting the Lions, game 1 of 272 that you'll see in the National Football League season of 2023. And Vinny, let's just go back to when you guys opened this back in May.
Yeah, May 16th.
May 16th, the Kansas City Chiefs were a 7-point favorite, and it stayed that for almost 3 whole months, down to 6.5 on August the 2nd, all the way down even to 6 2 days ago. And now with the news that Travis Kelce is going to miss tonight with that hyperextended knee that he suffered in Tuesday's practice for the Chiefs. Vinny, where are you guys sitting right now? A little under 2 hours from game time.
Yeah, Jeff, you mentioned it, the 7-point opener. There was excitement for the Lions, as I mentioned. But then again, we're never at a loss for Chiefs money. And so the line held pretty steady for the spring. We did see a trickle though of Lions money, but I think that had to do with we're going to talk a little bit more about Travis Kelce,
of course.
But let's remember Chris Jones, the holdout there, right, and some of the other Smith-Schuster,
New England,
now gone as well. So you started looking at some defections, if you will, or some changes with Kansas City. And listen, after the draft, there was more interest in the Lions because they had a terrific draft. Now they've got some issues with some suspensions that have been well chronicled as well. But a more of a steady stream of Lions money. But again, the big news and a couple of point and a half to 2 point move with the Travis Kelce news earlier in the week with the knee injury. And now the fact that he's not going to be there. I guess the biggest question, too, is why isn't this line coming down even more? Now, it may, but let's remember this. This is a new environment for a very young Lions team.
Sure.
And they're going into what is one of the best home field advantages in the NFL. Let's
Absolutely.
understand that. Let's touch on that just a little bit. When I want to explain about that.
Yeah.
The fact is that not all home fields are created equal. Now, we learned years ago, and again, sometimes on our side of the counter, we learn expensive lessons. There was a school of thought years ago that the home field was an automatic field goal. That's not the case. And there are, frankly, some teams that have no home field advantage. And teams travel so much better today than they used to. But make no mistake about it, the spotlight on the Detroit Lions going into Arrowhead against the defending Super Bowl champs. This is one of the stronger home fields in the National Football League. So it kind of, I don't want to say quite balances the absence of Travis Kelce and Chris Jones, but let's, we still want to make folks realize that it's still a significant home field for the Chiefs.
Well, you mentioned it, and I know Chris Andrews has mentioned this plenty of times in other places. There are very few places that are even worth more than 2.5 points, 2 points for home field advantage at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And Kansas City, Vinny, other than Denver in the early season where teams really struggle with playing at a mile high, Lambeau Field for Green Bay,
Seattle's
still one of the higher end home field advantages. Kansas City is a legit 3 still, correct?
I would say, yeah, it's 2. Again, it depends on the opponent too, right? I mean, some teams, you also have to take into consideration, you have to take home field, it's not automatically built in too.
Right.
I mean, because you want to take into account who the opponent is, where were they the week before? Are they coming in off a bye? Are they not? Are they close? What's their recent travel? What's the travel of the Chiefs going into that game as well? But I think if you want to blanket it, if you will, you start at 2, and then maybe you make that adjustment.
Right now, again, sitting at 4.5. Kansas City laying it against Detroit, down from 7 when this was posted back in May here at the South Point. Vinny, one other thing. Let's go to the total real quick.
Yeah.
Where this opened 54, went up to 54.5 at the beginning of the week, and then really has bounced between 54 and 53.5. But now with the news that Kelce is going to be out, actually still standing pat 53, right? Just from a few hours ago, or did you just move it a moment ago?
Still at 53. Went to 53. However, we're starting to see some 52s out there. And we'll give you this in real time, right? Because that's what's important, and people want that information. What's happening now as we gear up and build towards kickoff. No real surprise that it's come down a point to a 1.5, Jeff, simply because Kelce is such an impactful offensive player.
So we always talk about quarterbacks being out, how much they're worth to the line. There are very few pass catchers in this league that are worth even a point. And we have seen this since the hyperextension of the knee earlier this week. We saw it move pretty quickly to that 4.5, 5 with Kansas City still laying it. And that's something, Vinny, where it is a rarity. We see a pass catcher move a line like Travis Kelce's injury has.
Well, that's a good point. But what's important to remember is Travis Kelce means so much to this upright. He's the premier tight end in the league. Let's face it.
The best one by far.
So, and has been. And that consistency has been demonstrated during his career. His longevity, right? I mean, this is the first game he's going to miss due to injury since his rookie year. So, but the other part of it, Jeff, is to put an absolute exact number on it. I think you have to couple it with the Chris Jones absence as well. So now you've got their best offensive player besides Patrick Mahomes out of the game. You've got their top defensive player as well. So again, that's where you get to that 2.5 point, I think, impact on this number.
Looking at the Detroit perspective of this real quick, because this has all been Travis Kelce's out, Chris Jones, like you mentioned. Chris Jones will be in attendance. He'll be in a suite tonight, which makes a whole lot of sense, Vinny, right?
Got a great seat.
You got the best seat possible, right? But you look at this from the Lions' perspective, and you mentioned it. Still a young football team, a team that was one of the worst in the league in the first half of last year, then got hot, was a tiebreak away from actually sneaking in the back door and getting into the postseason a year ago, winning Week 18 on Sunday night at Lambeau Field to knock the Packers out and put Seattle in. This is a team, Vinny, that the public really does like going into the year. The division favorites for the first time since Barry Sanders was hanging around there with the Lions. So we're talking a long time ago. And as we said, one of the shorter shots to win the Super Bowl, which hasn't happened in a very long time.
Lots of love for the Detroit Lions. Certainly at the end of last year, during the summer, when Chris Andrews when he opened up the future book right after last Super Bowl, people were high on the Lions, and we knew that. We anticipate on our side of the counter. Again, let's remember that they had a terrific draft, right? Some free agent signings. Again, let's put the suspensions aside just for now.
Right.
The offensive line is intact. This is one of the better offensive lines in the NFL. Let's remember that. And they were going to look to run the football and try to, I think, gain somewhat control, some tempo, and try to take the crowd out of it a little bit. I think that the first quarter is going to be the key here. I think this is where if there's a home field advantage, it's more impactful, I think, not only because it's Kansas City and Arrowhead, but I think the first quarter, if the Lions can survive, if you will, or produce in the first quarter, I think that's what they're looking for, and I think that's going to be a key for them. But a lot of love for them. You mentioned it, the fact that they are now $1.40. They're the 7-5 favorites for the division. I mean, think about that. Again, I go back to the fact that everything changes and everything's upside down. Well, not so. They've earned it. That's the thing. They've earned it. Dan Campbell has done a great job. He's got a team that believes in him, and he believes in them. So it's a fun team. It's going to be a fun team to watch this year.
You said 7-5 to win the NFC North.
7-5, $1.40 plus $1.40.
For our exactly. Yes. For our friends who don't like fractions.
Okay. All right, I went dice dealer on you. For those who may not realize it, my early days in Las Vegas were spent dealing dice. So I dealt dice for an hour on, and then I took a 20-minute break, and I went and hung around with Jimmy Vaccaro and Chris Andrews in the sports book.
3-2 is the fraction that I know.
3-2. That's $1.50.
Yeah, that's the important one.
Okay.
We need more. 3-2 still available in the pit, just a few paces from our.
Oh yeah. In the 21 game. Yeah. You get blackjack 3-2 here at the South Point.
That's
right.
the way it should be.
Absolutely.
The way it should be.
Absolutely.
So Vinny, just looking at, and you mentioned Detroit. We'll look at these two teams playing tonight, just season-long prospects, real quick. Kansas City. Of course, yet again, a big favorite in the division. You're laying a nice price to win the AFC West yet again with Mahomes and Andy Reid.
Yeah.
It's just one of those, Vinny, where, at least from a bettor's perspective on my end, and I didn't place any bets on the AFC West, it just feels like until proven otherwise, because remember last year it was, it's the greatest division of all time. No, Kansas City just destroyed everyone en route to winning the title. It's just one of those. Until someone else comes at the king and knocks them off, you still expect Kansas City to win this division pretty handily.
They've earned it, right? Everybody I think for the last several years, and let's remember whether they've won the Super Bowl. They've gotten to the Super Bowl. Let's face it. They haven't won every one of them, but look,
3 out of 4. Yeah,
this is there's consistency there, right? So the fact is that the Chiefs opened at 2-3, so minus 150. They're up to almost 2-1. They're $1.90 favorite, and even though they started slow, let's remember they started slow last year, right? Everybody was there was the hype about the AFC West being the best division, and going into the season, they figured to be. The Chargers definitely, got people's attention.
Broncos,
all right. The Broncos last year. Now, with Russell Wilson. Now, there's Broncos. Now the attention is with Sean Payton there, right?
Right.
But again, to you, and of course the Raiders. Let's face it, our local team here. People love the Raiders. They love to bet the Raiders in the which there's some conflicting thoughts on the Raiders. I find it amazing that not that we've seen Raider money to win the Super Bowl, but they bet them under in terms of the regular season wins, which doesn't make sense and it doesn't correlate. But you know what? People pay a lot of attention. They love the odds to win the Super Bowl. By the way, the Raiders.
Please
let's look at. But let me back up here. The Chiefs 5-1 to win the Super Bowl. They're the favorites.
They're the favorites.
They're the favorites. And Chris and Jimmy are going to come on and talk about a nice bet that we took earlier today on another team that people are considering. A guy took a great price on another team. But you know what? You look at the Raiders, And again, it's confusing as to why they're betting them from 7.5 down to 6.5 in terms of the regular season wins. But you know what? The Las Vegas Raiders, a lot of attention, 25-1 to win the Super Bowl. We opened them at 40-1. They love the Raiders. It's always been a Raider town.
Good luck. That's all I have to say on that. Good luck if you took a ticket on the Raiders to win it all this year. And then you mentioned it on the Detroit side, a division that, Vinny, from my perspective, all four teams are capable of winning. Lions a plus price, a plus 140 favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota is, for a lot of professional bettors, team regression after winning all those close games a year ago, a negative point differential despite 13 wins. And then a new era in Green Bay with Jordan Love taking over and the Bears. People are high on Chicago despite having the worst record in the NFL a year ago.
Well, I think it's all going to come down to the quarterback play for all of these teams, right? When you look at it, yeah, it's very close, it's very compact in terms of the odds. You mentioned Packers 7. I'll go right from the top the way we had them listed in the rotation. Packers 7-2, the Vikings 5-2, and by the way, 7-2 plus 350. All right, I'll break it down for you. Plus 250 for the Vikings. The Bears 4-1. And the Lions at 7-5, so plus $1.40. They are your favorites. And when you look at it, these divisions, it's probably one of the more competitive divisions and compact divisions in terms of the odds to win a division. NFC South's another one that's pretty tight as well, although the long shot there, again, everything upside down. The Buccaneers are the real long shot there in that division at 10-1.
New Orleans still the favorite.
New Orleans is the
South.
favorite at even money there. And just to finish it out, the Falcons at plus 160, and then the Panthers at plus 450.
Vinny, for just people that are making their final bets before the season gets going in a few hours, of course, season win totals, one of the more popular ways to do it right now. Just what are teams that people have come in and bet here at the South Point, just season win total wise over the last few months?
32 of them.
Oh, there we go. Perfect. Very good.
All 32. And as recently as yesterday, we had a regular customer from out of town who came in and bet several teams. His selections at 10,000 a whack. But every team has gotten it. Now, some teams get more interest than others, yeah. But people love regular season wins. They love to follow them. They love to compare prices. And a half a game in certain spots is significant. That could be the difference between a win, a loss, or a push. So great, people do a lot of shopping on the regular season wins, and but I have to say every team has really gotten a lot of attention. And again, we'll talk about tonight's teams in this matchup here. So the Detroit Lions opened at 9.5, the over favored at $1.40, presently sitting at 9.5, and that'll go off once the game kicks off. Right, as will the Chiefs. Now, the other teams, the other 30 teams, will remain open until they kick off on Sunday and Monday. Kansas City Chiefs, no real surprise here. One of the two teams, along with the Philadelphia Eagles, at 11.5. The Eagles actually opened 11. They bet them over to 11.5. Chiefs, 11.5, over minus 30. And actually, just a slight move to the under, but pretty good two-way action. They're still 11.5.
So only two teams at 11.5, though, here.
That is correct.
Just Philadelphia
and Kansas City.
And then you have the collection of Buffalo, Cincinnati, and a few others at 10.5.
The Bills are at 11.
11, okay.
And they've held pretty steady at 11. So no real surprise there. I don't think that those are the teams that actually Cincinnati, I should say this, they open at 11.5, under the favorite. They're presently at 11. And I think maybe the Joe Burrow camp injury had something to do with that, but again, I think there's still time to get some Cincinnati money between now and kickoff on Sunday.
Right now, we're still looking at the Bengals playing Burrow in Week 1 as of this moment.
Yeah, it looks like he's back.
Looks like he'll be ready to go.
I think so. I mean, he's back at practice. I don't think there's any restrictions, and so I think we'll see Joe Burrow for sure.
We'll have plenty more to talk about, but coming up next, Chris Andrews, Jimmy Vaccaro, of course, Jimmy, not the whole Twitter staff, just Jimmy, though.
Right.
In the studio, the guys took a big bet on an AFC power to win it all, and that shifted the odds. So we'll see that ticket, and we'll see a lot more. Again, Kansas City and Detroit, a little under 2 hours away from kickoff at Arrowhead Stadium. The Chiefs right now a 4.5-point favorite right behind us here at the South Point Sportsbook with a total of 53. Keep it tuned. Sports by the Book at the South Point studio.
The bright lights, the glitz, the glamour. It all means nothing without a shot. A chance to turn dreams into reality. To change your destiny. To make history. Nothing is given. Everything earned. It's more than a race. It's a shot at a championship.
Let's go get a championship, baby!
The NASCAR playoffs return to Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the South Point 400. October 13th through 15th.
At South Point, we want you to have fun, but we also care about your well-being. Guests have access to our private, state-of-the-art fitness center. No need to miss your workout when we have everything you need, even fitness classes. Be well and be strong. And after your workout, you can look your best and feel even better with a visit to the Costa del Sur Salon. Revitalizing manicures, pedicures, haircuts, and colors for both women and men, because you deserve to look your best.
Welcome back in. It's Sports by the Book here at the South Point studio, authentic sports talk. I'm Jeff Parles, happy to be with you as always. The opening night of the National Football League season. And see, we got two more of our good friends with us right now. Chris Andrews, Jimmy Vaccaro alongside. Chris, opening night. Doesn't get better
my
than
NFL
I know,
shirt.
you're protecting the shield.
I don't know. The shield needs my protection, but oh my God, we've had so much business. It's unbelievable. I mean, great on this game and all the props. And I brought a bunch of prop sheets over here, but we're doing so much business on all the props, all the futures. I got to tell you, and I've checked the handle. The handle's way up over last year. So, so far so good. Now we just got to win a little piece of it.
Jimmy, as we entered the season, I know obviously you've been around the block just a few times in this business. Just when you have another NFL season, just what goes through your head and what are your thoughts? Just going into it?
I'll tell you what I like most about this whole thing is simply like, and Chris is right with me at the same, as long as we've been doing this, we have seen what it was, we are seeing what it is, and we ain't got a freaking clue what it's going to be. That's how strong it is with the betting. Again, just leaning on Chris as we have so many years, it's like, we go back to like writing it hand on these things. We go back to like you did baseball, basketball, maybe boxing. That was it. Now it's a culture change. Here we are. And trust me, they're coming in droves. We'll have the biggest year that we've ever had. That's Jimmy's prediction.
I 100% agree with you. I mean, just Chris, even just a week into college football, week plus week zero, I would imagine handles way up as well.
It's up about 25-30% over the last.
That's a pretty good number.
Pretty good, over last year. For the first Saturday I'm talking about. But I'm looking at stuff now, and I don't have exact numbers how much the handle's up. But I'm looking at the things, and I told you, before we got on camera, yesterday I took a $10,000 bet on the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. Then I took one on the Bills to win the Super Bowl, same amount. And just before I walked on, I took another one on the Bengals to win the Super Bowl, all for $10,000. And Jimmy and I were laughing. We took a $9,000 bet on the Raiders to win the Super Bowl, I think 2 days ago. So they're firing, baby. Let me tell you.
Well, from our standpoint, and obviously me and Chris have been around the block, those 6 bets that you gave out, that's great. Why? Only one can win.
Right.
Yeah. And I remember, God, I've been so lucky in my life. I really have. I remember I was a teenager and I was could have lunch with Bob Martin, and he would tell me, "You want to take, I think there was 28 teams at the time. He says you want to take plenty of money on those 27 teams to pay off the 28th, because that's the way it works. One of them's going to win, 27 of them are going to lose. So we tried to do that. But I want to say too, Jeff.
Yeah.
We got a couple other things here, some that are unique to us. We got season wins, team to make the playoffs. Everybody kind of has that. But we got season win matchups. Now the teams that are playing tonight, they will go off the board. But it's like, I tried to find some teams that had, a reason for me to put them together. Like I put together the Cowboys and the Texans, and these aren't all pick 'em.
Hey, look, the commonality with that state of Texas, but there's no other commonalities other than that.
No other, but I tell you what, we had one guy again. He bet me 10,000 on the Texans.
Taking 4.5 wins,
taking
right?
4.5.
Yeah.
I got like Jacksonville, New Orleans, the two Los Angeles teams against each other. And
Right.
Philly and Pittsburgh, things like that. So we're the only ones that have those. We did good business on those. We got college football props. I always have something that people have known for the last couple of years. I've been doing first touchdown of the day on Saturday. That's great. You get a lot of sweat in that first couple of minutes. And then the highest scoring team on Saturday. Of course, last week, what did Oklahoma? I think had 73. They kind of put everybody away kind of early.
Yeah, that was a pretty easy one when it was all said.
Well, it was easy once it was over, yeah.
Well, look, Butch Jones was almost in tears on the Arkansas State
Oh,
sideline.
my
too.
gosh. He was. Yeah.
It was
almost in tears. I think he might have been.
It was pretty brutal to watch all the way around. Even though I will say, just that, remember a disclaimer here: when you're betting those first touchdowns of the day, it's time of game, not time of day.
Yeah.
Don't go to the window for the NFL when the Browns score the first touchdown at 1:07 p.m. But someone else got there before in the game time.
Right. It's game time, not time on your clock.
Oh man, that always happens. All right, at least 5 times a Saturday and Sunday, right, Chris?
Well, we always have to. It takes a little while to check.
Yeah.
Before we post it. Oh, and one more thing, Jeff. Before
please.
we go any further, I want to mention our jackpot.
Oh
yes. So we guarantee 25,000, and you don't have to have a perfect card. Just pick the most winners, and it does not include tonight's game. The Thursday night game does not include that. So you have all the way till Sunday at 10 a.m. And we're already over the 25,000, and that all goes back to the players. We don't make a dime. All goes back to the players. So last couple of years, what do we have, Jimmy? 32, 35, 33,
we've been in the mid 30s. I think we might have a chance to do 40. Might have a chance.
I'll tell you what, it's been busy. I'd love to do 40.
Yeah,
I'd love to do 40. And it all goes back to the players, every penny.
Mm-hmm.
And this does not include tonight's game.
Correct.
With the Chiefs and the Lions. It will start at the 10 a.m. Pacific window on Sunday.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
So, hey, look, in the past, I made sure I had my 5 tickets. That would end up being a $25 donation. But hey, it's a fun one. If you win, and
somebody's going to win.
Someone has to go at least 14-1. Undefeated won it last year, right?
Yeah, I'm always rooting for like 4 or 5 guys to win.
Mm-hmm.
So we can spread that money out a little bit. But it is what it is. Whatever happens, happens.
Jimmy, just again, you talked about it. We're in an era now where we still don't really know where this is all going. Like, even though we have somewhat of a clue, but just like you said, expecting the biggest year ever, and really just even a few hours before game time, the book is already starting to fill up.
What is this? Also, things that have happened to push us quicker to the future. What I mean by that is future betting wasn't really as big as it is now. But it takes one thing like Refrigerator Perry going in for a touchdown. That just lit the world up. I mean, when I'm serious about it, that pushed future betting way past what we thought it would be because of this big guy running into the end zone.
I don't think we had props before that, Super Bowl props. Mm-mm. That was the first one.
Will Refrigerator Perry score a touchdown?
Yeah, casinos got annihilated on that one. But it opened the door for look at where we've come since then. But when I started with Jim, it was actually my second job. My first one was at the Stars. My second was working with Jimmy at the Barbary Coast. I mean, Jimmy, we booked the sides. We didn't have totals on every game. Mm-mm. With baseball, football, basketball. We didn't even have hockey. We didn't have golf. We didn't have money lines. We did a couple of half times, but just a couple. And look where we are now. You could bet season win totals, matchups, and just everything that was completely inconceivable when I started with Jimmy. That was 1980.
And every single and props now. You guys have game props tonight as well.
Game props tonight, do.
Yeah.
I did bring that sheet too. We got a bunch of game props for tonight, which we'll have for every Thursday and every Monday night and Sunday night as well.
Just going into the season, Chris, and you mentioned it. Just the futures book.
Mm-hmm.
You have the 3 giant bets. You had the Raiders bet, which, by the way, again, as I said in this first segment, good luck on if you're betting the
guy
Raiders.
put up his money.
Hey, look,
I mean, that's a man-sized bet, buddy. Let me tell
on
you.
a team that I don't think is going to be any good.
I don't think so either. But I mean, surprise, and somebody jumps up every year in the NFL. Every year.
Oh
Jeff.
yeah. Well,
every year.
I mean,
Maybe
look.
Raiders,
I mean, if you told me today, like just taking a team that's on the back end of 16 of the top on the bottom 16 for futures, like what's stopping the Green Bay Packers from winning 11 games and all of a sudden that being a sweat when it becomes the playoffs?
Here's the thing too. You look at the NFC and we got the top 3 teams are pretty much well set. Dallas along with San Francisco and Philadelphia. Yep. Detroit kind of sneaking in there at number 4. But Jeff, 7 teams are going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Who's those other 3? I don't know.
Someone with 8 wins in the NFC South potentially.
Yeah, so it might be 8, 9. I mean, it's going to be 7 teams. That we know. It will be 7 teams. Who they are, I really don't know. And listen, Detroit, I kind of like everything that they're doing. They're far from a lock. And I would say the same with Dallas, Philly, and even San Francisco.
Well, San Francisco's handing the keys to the car to a dude who was Mr. Irrelevant a little over a year ago. It's kind of amazing how that has fully flipped over.
Of course, they did sign Nick Bosa today.
Yes, the big extension, no more hold in is what they're calling it now when you actually are at practice.
Well, I was hoping he'd sign after Sunday when they play the Steelers.
Oh, well, and Steelers actually, again, since you brought it up, one of your bigger movers throughout the summer on that game.
Well, they are, but, I know Vinny talked a little bit about, like, season win totals. We have tons of opinions. The Steelers are one of those teams. Mm-hmm. We have tons of opinions on them, good and bad. And run through the list, we have done so much business. I think this is the biggest year we've ever had with season wins. And part of it is just the ambiguity. A lot of people are very high on the Steelers. A lot of people are not. A lot of people, I know are against the Vikings because, some of the things that you guys said, a negative point differential, won a lot of 3-point games, whatever. Don't guarantee that. You know what I mean? Just because that happened last year and you're looking for a reversal doesn't always happen that way. I've seen it where, that trend has, and I can think of one perfect example when the Colts had Andrew Luck as a rookie. They won a bunch of close games, and every wise guy in town was betting the Colts under the next year, and they went over again.
Well, Andrew Luck was a special guy, though.
Andrew Luck was a special guy.
I know. I miss him. You miss him.
Yeah, that's my favorite player. Yeah.
Chris, just going to Sunday real quick for everything that we have. Of course, a full slate of games. It feels like, and I don't know if this is just me personally, but this week 1 kind of feels more difficult than usual. It feels like there's like you said, more ambiguity on a lot of these teams going into the season where I don't have many strong opinions. That's why I only have 1 season win total in my pocket. Yeah.
Well, my cousin texted me today. She said, "What's your best bet for the weekend?" I'm like, "Oh my God, I have no idea." My best bet is I want to sit there and book all the action. How's that?
No, it's again, you'll have a lot of action in the book. Jimmy, I will bring you back in here because, of course, season win totals originated with you. And
that's the man right there.
Any time that I can bring this story up and let you tell it, just back in the day, Dallas Cowboys, and that was the inaugural season win total bet.
Well, sometimes you just trip over something and it becomes a monster. And there are things that I've done it like it didn't. But in this case, it was a guy that I knew, and he was a customer of the Golden Nugget. And there was a big fight that weekend. So there was a junket that came to town. A lot of people stayed at the Nugget. And Hamburger Jack, what he called me, he said, "Come here, partner. That was the year where they got rid of, where they brought Jimmy Johnson in and, threw Landry out and the rest of the stuff." And he said, "How many games do you think them Cowboys going to win with the new coach?" I said, "Jack, doesn't matter what I think. What do you think?" He said, "Well, let me think about it for a second." I said, "Yeah, that's fine." He thought it for about a second, sent his wife up to the counter, little Laura. She was this high. Her purse was bigger than her. She dumped it over. And he goes, "I want to bet them Cowboys for $38,000. well, I got some vanity too. I don't want to back down like I made a big deal out of myself. Then I said, no, you can't do it. And I didn't even know how to put the total in. And one of the girls said, Jimmy, all it is like a basketball total, bet over, bet under. Bet 38,500. Went to the fight that night. And if I lived to be a million, how this thing all really started was Bayless and another kid, Galloway, were the writers for the Dallas paper at the time. And someone told them about it, and then Jack showed them the ticket. Well, when they got back to Texas in the next couple of days, they had a story about it. From that time, every newspaper in the country called the Gold Nugget, hey, what about the Steelers? Hey, what about the this? And yeah, it was a monster. I'll take credit for that one.
No, that it's who killed Mr. Burns as well. I mean, you've had a lot of fun through the years.
The only human that's ever been on
The Simpsons. Yes, that's true.
That's pretty big. Yeah.
While you're here, don't forget Buster Douglas either.
Oh, of course, Buster
Just
Douglas.
joking. Listen, quickly. I mean, what you see is like something that's like, see, those type of things changed and everybody jumped on it. I mean, now one of the bigger prop bets we take for the entire year, and Chris puts everything up early, is like season win totals.
Right.
And now people bet their $20 and $40 on their way out the door, knowing that they have something for the entire year to root for, even if they don't come back. So it's been a good run, and he ain't done yet, and I ain't done yet. That's all I'm telling you.
That's great to hear for everybody, right?
Now, they call us dinosaurs, and I started telling Jimmy, I said, we're not dinosaurs, we're crocodiles. Because crocodiles were around 80 million years ago, and they're still around. Dinosaurs around 80 million years ago, they're
long gone.
Me and Jimmy's still here.
Yeah,
we ain't going nowhere either.
Well, I know whenever I've said it to Vinny or introduced Vinny in the past as a legend of the game, I know he gets aggravated at me on that. Just means you've been around a long time.
But
right?
yeah, well, it's, you take it either way when you say
that.
No,
Jeff, I mean it as the utmost of a compliment. But hey, whatever way it is taken, it is. Before we let you guys go, Chris, of course, a full slate of college football on Saturday, and boy, it's a really good card with a lot of good non-conference games. Yeah. This is just one of those Saturdays where it's like, all right, I'm just going to let everyone go to the window and have a good time up, and we'll just move it as it is.
Yeah, we got, I think the Texas Alabama game will be that'll be the night game, and everybody's going to be looking at that one. But we got some other ones. A&M's in a good matchup. I think the Mississippi Tulane game is going to be a good game. Notre Dame playing an NC State team that's not too bad. And we got a lot of stuff going on there.
Well, and it's also, again, high-profile teams and high-profile spots. Of course, I would imagine that Alabama, Texas has a good chance of being the highest handled game of September. You would guess.
Oh boy, I'll tell you what. I'd have to see what else is on the menu, but that's going to be a pretty big.
The only other one I can think of is Ohio State, Notre Dame at the end of the month.
Yeah, that might be that one might be a big one too.
Yeah. No, it's again these games on Saturday, including Utah, Baylor. I know Baylor was defeated by Texas State.
Yeah, that score was a little
misleading.
I'd say very misleading. Yeah.
Actually, how can I forget it? Coach Prime, of course. That's right.
Oh my God! You're right. How can I got newspapers all over the country calling me on that game. By the way, that game moved down to 2.5 today. The wise guys definitely coming in on Nebraska. I don't know the right side on the game, but they're definitely taking Nebraska. Jimmy,
you a fan of Coach Prime over there?
Yes. I mean, what he's doing is just obviously very, very good, and for a first-year coach with a new team, and I want him to win another 3 or 4 in a row because this creates more of everything. And before I go, remember this. Are you ready?
Please.
Cowboys only won 1 game that year.
Oh, I had 1-15, right?
I think Jimmy put the number at 6.5.
That was Aikman's rookie year, right?
Yeah. So Cowboy Jack, 38-5 to win 35.
That's one of the easiest winners you had behind the counter that year.
What am I going to tell you? My hair was black then, too. So.
But again, be on the lookout. Season win total's still up until
tonight's game. Tonight's
of course, the Chiefs and the Lions will be off as soon as the game
the
kicks.
Playoffs. Yes, no on the playoffs. All that goes off, but only involving those 2 teams. Right. Everything else stays.
Yeah, everything will be up until 10 a.m. Pacific time on Sunday morning for all the teams that kick off in that window. 1:25 for the teams that kick off in the late window, and then the Jets and the Bills, of course, wrapping up Week 1. I'm very excited for that one. I can tell you that.
I got to tell you, I'm excited too. I mean, it's a great matchup, and now you throw Aaron Rodgers in the mix, and I mean, it's going to be fantastic.
2 teams that do not like each other. to say the very least. Chris, Jimmy, always a pleasure. You'll be around a lot as we continue this
I
fun
have a
project.
feeling we will. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
absolutely. Again, when we come back, Vinny Magliulo rejoins the set, looking at the final touches for tonight's game between Detroit and Kansas City, and also, too, some futures. Again, some line movement on the Bills and the Bengals because of the big bets that Chris took just a few minutes ago. We're back with more Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio, Authentic Sports Talk.
If you're celebrating a special occasion or just love fine dining, you're in the right place. Come experience the crown jewel of South Point restaurants, Michael's Gourmet Room.
Welcome.
With over 600 different types of wines and magnificent dishes prepared tableside, you'll revel in the rich classic Vegas decor and the best black tie service in the world. This intimate gourmet room has earned accolades galore. Come to Michael's Gourmet Room for an unforgettable dining experience. Another famous restaurant is the Silverado Steakhouse, where you'll find the charm and service that discerning patrons require. From top quality steaks and chops to fresh seafood and desserts, you'll love the award-winning wine list and menu at Silverado Steakhouse. Steak lovers have even more options with primarily prime rib. Catering to hearty appetites, the menu features a variety of flavorful prime rib cuts, dry-aged to ensure tenderness, and then seasoned and slowly roasted. Although prime rib is our specialty, it's not the only thing on the menu. There's something for everyone. And if you're craving a taste of Italy, come experience delicious Italian cuisine and the attentive service at Don Vito's. Our culinary team starts with the freshest ingredients and transforms them into traditional favorites. And don't forget Italian desserts. Don Vito's. Savor the taste of Italy. Finally, if sushi is more your style, join us at the popular Zenshin Asian restaurant and sushi bar, where we're serving up the freshest sashimi, nigiri, and sushi rolls. And beyond the sushi, an exciting contemporary Asian cuisine menu. Plus a variety of specialty drinks, Japanese and domestic beer, wine, and sake. Balance your hunger with Zenshin.
Welcome back in. It is Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio, Authentic Sports Talk. Final segment for us here in our opener before the NFL's opener.
We open first.
We open first, yes. Vinny Magliulo back on set. Of course, Gone Gaming Sportsbook Director, South Point Odds Maker. A big thanks to Chris Andrews, of course, the Sportsbook Director behind us here at the South Point. And Jimmy Dignitary, Jimmy Vaccaro. Is that a good way to put it?
He's everything.
He's everything.
Jimmy's, you know, and that's one of the great parts of my job is that I get to work with, you know, two guys that have had such an impact on the industry, but two friends that we've been friends for like almost 45 years. Jimmy, I know since I broke into business in 1978, and Chrissy I met in 1980 at the Barbary Coast. So we've been together a long time, and that's just to get to share ideas and perspectives, and just, you know, be a pal around with them on a regular basis. It's good stuff.
It's a lot of fun, and for me, just the 30-year-old kid, I'm honored to be a part of the team.
Well, we're happy to be with you, buddy.
Honored to be a part of the team for sure. Vinny, back to tonight's game.
Yeah.
So you guys are still sitting at 4.5. Does look like you just moved recently back to 52.5 on the total.
Yeah, when I left the first segment, just as we were coming off, and Chris and Jimmy were coming on, Jeff, we went from 53 down to 52, and again, that's a byproduct, I think, or the initial thought about Kelce being out officially. But when I get back to the counter, took some over money, and now back to 52.5. You mentioned the numbers sitting at 4.5, holding pretty steady, even after the Kelce announcement. But again, as we spoke about in the first segment, still the Chiefs at home, the defending Super Bowl champs. Andy Reid calling the plays in orchestra, and you get, of course, the maestro in Patrick Mahomes, and the Arrowhead home field. So that's why the number is holding. Great two-way action right now.
Can I put you on the spot real quick?
Go ahead.
So we haven't mentioned Mahomes a lot tonight. Of course, the reigning MVP, 2-time Super Bowl champion, the best there is in the business at this point at the quarterback position. When we're talking about line move, and we mentioned earlier, Travis Kelce, one of the rare pass catchers that can actually move a line, and he has. But when you're dealing with, again, an elite quarterback like this with Mahomes, where last year the narrative was, hey, they don't have Tyreek Hill anymore. The offense isn't going to be as good. The offense was the best it ever was. He was the most efficient he ever was.
Started a little slow in the beginning.
Slow,
right?
yeah.
But some adjustments.
They had a huge game against Arizona week 1 and then had a lull for about a month and then went
Yeah.
to San Francisco and put 45 on them. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
they're all the way back. But with a guy as great as Mahomes, even without his best pass catcher, his best offensive player along with him, isn't that one of those where even if Travis Kelce is worth 1.5 points, you would be even trending on the side of being conservative because of the greatness of the quarterback and moving a line like this?
Well, the quarterback is the most impactful,
of course,
person, right? The player to the number, and of course, when you're talking about a Mahomes, an Allen or Rodgers, they're at the top of, and that's where you're going to have your biggest impact, right? But look, the thing is, again, he adds a dimension, his ability to create, right? And his innovation and his adjustments they're second to none. So now they've had 3 days to make adjustments, probably bigger adjustments than they would have had to make a year ago. Again, you mentioned Tyreek Hill was gone, but now Schuster's gone, right? Juju Smith-Schuster is gone as well. So probably bigger adjustments. Now, does that mean try to run the ball more or try some more a shorter passing game and things like that? The fact of the matter is that with Mahomes, you've got options that a lot of teams don't have because of his ability to improvise. And you've got one of the best play callers in the game in the head coach, Andy Reid. So, again, we've not seen this spiral downward from 4.5 once it became official about Kelce, Jeff. But that doesn't really surprise me, given the fact that it is Mahomes under center.
Kadarius Toney will play tonight as well, so that is another weapon that is
sure.
That was
and that's important.
Uncertain if he was going to play. Been dealing with a knee injury throughout practice, without the preseason. In all honesty, Kadarius Toney has been not healthy most of his career. So even though he was really good when he was healthy with Kansas City on the back end of last season.
To your point, also, let's face it. Mahomes makes everybody else better, right? Let's face it. The receivers still have to catch the ball. Running backs are still going to have to catch the ball. But you've seen as they've lost personnel, they're still the team to beat in the AFC. So until that we see a change in that, and again, one game is not going to tell it all. But he's the one that he's the wild card, obviously.
Let's go to some Super Bowl futures before we get out of here today. Of course, Chris brought this up in the last segment. 7-1 yesterday. Kansas City now down 5-1 after taking a big 5-figure bet on the Chiefs to win it all. And then in the last hour, both the Bills and the Bengals have been hit down from 10-1 to 8-1 because of a similarly big bet on both the Bills and the Bengals to win it all.
Two $10,000 bets at 10-1, so $100,000 to win $100,000 and get back $110,000. And that's important. That's a pretty good pop. Those are legit. Those are, you see, some of the tickets.
Blue cheese or ranch with your wings.
Well, listen, we try to get a little creative there too, right? I tell you what, you get a lot of blue cheese, a lot of ranch, and a lot of wings with if that ticket comes in. So
yes, you do.
But it's a fair bet. But now the other part of it is this: once we get off the air there, and as Chris, I'm sure mentioned when going back to the counter now, those teams came down. So now we're going to adjust some teams to go up, right? And you start where do you look at that from our perspective? So a little peek behind the counter here, Jeff. What do we look at? Okay, So we're going to start with the AFC East, probably with the Patriots, and have them, tick up a little bit. And when you look at New England, as we sit here now, and the Patriots at 60, they're probably going to tick up. Okay, they'll be higher than 60. Now, what exactly we make them? Could be 70, maybe 75. But the other one, and then you go to the NFC North, a much more competitive, but both competitive divisions, right? The AFC East and the AFC North. But you're going to have to raise somebody. If in this business, if you're going to lower somebody, which you have to based on success and of course handle, well, you got to raise somebody as well. You got to be prepared. You have to be prepared to raise teams as well. So we'll look and probably start. Look, I don't know. The Steelers. I think Steelers are very good. I think they've got a good defense. They've had a pretty good preseason. With
their offense scored on every single drive they were out there.
You know what? They did a heck of a job. Of course, we mentioned the Bengals coming down, the Browns, and of course the Ravens, right? So we're going to have to adjust there. And if it's not just in that division, then we'll look at the conference. But some teams are going to go up because we did lower those teams.
Well, I will ask you this, just again, not to obviously you're moving on bets more so than anything at this moment. But as we get through week one, let's say Buffalo loses to the Jets on Monday night.
Correct.
Now, you would more, because of the bigger bets that you've taken on Buffalo, you would be more likely to just, all right, they lost as a short road favorite in week one. We're just going to keep them at that 8-1 range, more likely than not, based off of one game.
Yeah,
correct?
There's a few things, right? Because week one, what the public will do, a lot of bettors will overreact.
Oh, yes.
Based on the results
very much so.
of week one, okay? You don't want to overreact. But what we'll look at is obviously, you mentioned it, if the Jets win, they beat the Bills. Well, what's the score? Was it a blowout? Was it a close game? How did they win? Whatever the case may be. Certainly injuries would impact it. So if they come out of it, whatever, a competitive game and healthy, no, there's no reason to lower them. Again, we've got 17 games. So the fact of the matter is that they're still going to be one of the better teams, and one of the teams, they're still going to be the favorite in the division. Now, there'll be a lot of excitement for the Jets, as there has been, and we talked about that, and the buzz with the Jets being what it is. And by the way, I don't know if we mentioned the Jets
15-1, right?
Down to 15-1, and we kind of tried to get ahead of it. I mentioned in the first segment also, we tried to anticipate. And there was a lot of talk about the Jets going after a quarterback, and that quarterback was going to be Rodgers, right? and so you had to pay attention to those rumors. A few years ago, we got caught a little flat-footed when a guy named Brady, out of nowhere, wound up going to a Tampa Bay team at 60-1. Or just before he went there, they were 60-1 to win the Super Bowl. Of course, that impacted things to the bettors' delight. And you know what? Created a lot of business.
Well, hey, look, again, the NFL season is upon us, and Vinny, it's the most exhilarating time to be a sports bettor, someone behind the counter. It is also a stressful time of the year, as we know, because there's a lot of action to take care of. There are 75 games in college football on Saturday.
Yeah, you look at it, Jeff, but it still gets our juices flowing. It's still exciting.
Of course.
I have to tell you, we're fans too. We enjoy what we do. People love to bet. Is it stressful? You get used to it because you know that it's a long season. You know that the fact of the matter is that even if or not if, but when the folks have a good day, they're going to still come back and they're going to continue to bet. And that's great. And it's great not just for the book. When you look at the entire South Point property, action creates action, and it creates business throughout the property. So it's a labor of love. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this 45 years later.
Vinny, we will be here on this show Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sunday, and Monday moving forward.
Yep.
Please, we will, as we know what time we'll be going, we will tell you. We'll tell you all the information beyond our social channels. Vinny, you have a new Twitter handle now.
I do. Vinny by the book.
See, this is Sports by the Book.
That's
so
right.
Maybe you were the one who came up with the name. We don't know.
We know.
We know. Big thanks to everyone who tuned in tonight. Vinny, pleasure as always.
Always good to be with
We
you,
will see
Jeff.
a lot of you on this show moving forward. We'll see a lot of Chris Andrews and Jimmy Vaccaro as well. I'm Jeff Parles. Thank you for joining us for our inaugural journey. We will see you again on Saturday to preview some college football at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Until next time, this has been Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio.